Hey guys, I know it's been a while. I've just been going through a season of transitioning and just trying to figure my life out a bit. Yeah, that's what happens with motherhood. Like it's up, down, and sometimes you just go down and then you're like, oh my god, like what the hell is happening? But yeah, I'm just powering through and taking every lesson every day and as many as I can. So, right now, I want to talk to you about one thing, mistakes that I've made with my nanny that I'm definitely not going to make with the next one. And at the same time, you guys have been asking me how did I transition from, maternity leave to going back to work. Okay, basically, when I went back to work, first of all, I wish I basically pumped before. Like, I wish I pumped a lot more milk before because my baby, I would always be called like, oh, you need to send milk. I don't know what, because he was only, I think, 3 months old, yeah. But at the same time, I was leaving him with my auntie and my grandmother, which was a lot more comfortable than leaving him with a nanny. But then eventually, I had to I decided to move out, and I got myself a nanny, and she was young as well, like the same age as me, almost the same age, and I was being told, oh my gosh, it's gonna be a problem. But I've come to realize that it's not really about that only, because I've heard so many stories from you guys telling me how your nanny is even old, but probably an old one wants to control you, a younger one is kichwangumu. Like there's so many different things and aspects. So I have been learning a lot because this is my first person like to ever manage in my house, and I'm just like, whoa. And you can't take chances with your child. Like I've been told that number one, never be afraid of hiring and firing as many times as you possibly need to, because like you just, when you start feeling like this person is indisposable, yes, like they indisposable. Okay, guys, you get it. Like if you treat this person like you can never let them go, they will know it. That's just one. Number two, you need to have boundaries in the household. Like you can't be leaving, especially because as we don't have a man in the house. I feel like usually when there's a man, it's different. But when you're two women, it's like, whoa, like two young women. We are basically always talking, having conversations, and it becomes like a friendship. And because it becomes like a friendship, it's usually a problem because you are just treating each other like friends, and you forget that this person is also working for you. Then number three, set the rules early enough, like especially for off days. So I told my nanny she can be going on Saturday, but I was like, if I'm not doing anything else, you can go on Saturday, like usually at around like 4:30 or something. Yeah, don't know why he's crying. Yeah, so basically, you need to have rules early enough. Think through your rules, because now Saturday just means I can't do anything. I can't meet my friends until a certain time, and that's also the only day that I get to rest. So it becomes a real problem. But I also like spending time with my son on that day, so I don't usually mind like someone not being in my space. But it's something that if you a shot, because like for me, I was always like, you can leave Saturday, you can leave early as long as you're done with your work bounds. But I came to realize that to her it became like, I told her, if I'm doing something, you can leave at 4:30. But then now, like last weekend, she was rushing me when I was at my friend's baby shower, and she's like, hey, uko wapi? Unajua mimi nafai kuwa nimeshaenda. And I'm just like, what? Sis, I usually let you leave even as early as 1 o'clock, and this one time you are rushing me. Like, what? And then number three, it's never ever like, have boundaries in your space, have boundaries in your space. Like if this person, because like for me it's like the TV is hers, I swear, like oh my god, I don't usually like TV so much, but now it becomes like hers, and I'm usually in the sitting room, and then sometimes I want her to just go to the bedroom so I can have my own space in my own house. But it's like she doesn't take the hint, or she doesn't care. Number four, is it number four or number five? Yeah, you need to have rules that accommodate your space, and you should be able to be like, you know what, I don't want my child to watch this. I only want my child to watch this. I want him to eat this. I don't want him to eat that. Like, but you also really learn that as you go by, because right now is when I'm establishing rules for my son and myself as well, because now I'm like, I don't want him watching this. Like, she loves her Indian soaps, and I'm just like, I don't want her like watching such shit around my son, because like they have so many witches and I don't know, demonic stuff and all that, and I'm just like, it's not like what I want him to be exposed to. And it's okay for you to say that, but I realized you can only say that because if you have someone else monitoring, or basically at the same time, if you have a nanny cam, so you can actually look and be like, no, the only thing that's allowed to play here is YouTube cartoon or whatever, nothing else. You're not allowed, such stuff. If you want to watch those things, watch it like by yourself later, all that. But it's your right to actually have rules and regulations that govern your son or your daughter, because realize that this person is a mom, but in as much as she's a mother, you don't know her rules for her child. You don't know if her at like she used to beat like her child at 6 months or 3 months or 8 months. Like, you have no idea. So if you don't set your standards and you have guidelines that if you break A, B, C, D, that's it, then it becomes a problem. The other thing is your housey talking to your relatives or anyone else. If your housey has links to your relatives, please cut them off, because I found out that mine was actually trying to talk to like my grandma about me, and just telling her like, oh, I went out, and by the way, when I did go out, I actually paid her that night. And like, it's usually an agreement. So I was like, okay, that's a bit odd. If you have someone who's exposing your family life to people, then it's definitely a problem, because it means there's no respect, there's nothing. Number 6 or number 7 is that you will finally learn, especially when you move into your own house, the things that you really like. Like, you might be the kind of person who's like, I don't want dishes in the sink at this time, or I don't want the floor to be this way. You kind of have your own stuff. You're like, no, I want the curtains to be cleaned every Saturday, I want this and that. If you leave that jurisdiction to the person, or if you leave that responsibility to the person doing it or the other person, and it becomes a problem, because then when you start introducing new things, you're like, but I've been doing this. Basically, if you leave the nanny to become the boss and the person who knows what's going on in your house more than you, then it's a problem. And you have a Betty Charlo case, because Betty Charlo has basically been said to be a deadbeat mom by the nanny, and you see she's given her so much power by exposing her, because now she's just saying things like, oh, she was never there, nini, all those things. Whether they're true or not, I have no idea. But at the end of the day, if you give them that much power to be running your household, even if you're a working mom, and I know it can be so difficult as a working mom, then lo and behold, it's your problem, sis. So I'm really just learning to get on top of my household. Like, go and check how is your soap looking, like, is your bar soap still the same? Go and check, like, is your oil the same? Because people steal and all that stuff. So you really need to be up on top of your game. Call as many times as you possibly can. Video call if you need to. Have a nanny come. Have rules and regulations written down. Don't leave anything to chance. Lock your bedroom door, because there's people that use stuff and all that. Use your things. So you just need to be on top of your game. Yeah. Any other things that you guys want to point out? Because I've heard enough stories, and for me, I'm just like, when you're going back to work, the best thing you can do is have somebody who can be coming in and checking up on your child every now and again. Have a nanny come, breast milk, pump enough milk for your child before you go. You don't want any situation where your child doesn't have enough milk or formula. Make sure there's shopping, make sure there's food. Just make sure your house is in order. Put a calm. Like, I'm on about that. Like, yeah. So I'm basically looking for another one now, but these things, I'm ready to actually hire and fire, but most of all, I'm ready to just pray, because I'm praying to God. I'm like, I want someone who will interact with the child, someone who will play, because he's at that stage where he's so curious. If you have like a dunderhead around, like, then what's gonna happen to my boo? Like, yeah. Anyways, guys, see you. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any suggestions or advice, just write it down in the comment section, and I hope to see you next week.